manager of Forever Nutraceutical. I'm used to giving a lot of tours here throughout the year, or I should say throughout the years. I've been here for about 10 years. This year's a little different. For obvious reasons, we're trying to keep the number of visitors down in the facility. For that reason, I thought we'd go ahead and do a video tour so you can kind of see what's going on now. I'll let you know everything's still going on, and so we'll just take a look and see what's going on. But right now, we're going to go ahead and start in the quality control laboratory. This is an ISO 17025 certified lab. What that means is pretty much anyone with that certification does testing for other companies. It's almost like an independent testing organization. As far as I know, we're the only in-house laboratory in our industry that has this certification and ability to do this. So we're very proud of that. We work very hard to keep it, and we're audited on at least an annual basis just for that certification alone, on top of our other certifications as well. We'll go ahead and move along this way. So as I mentioned with the ISO certification, a lot of that is paperwork, traceability, making sure everything's done right, records are kept perfectly for audits and just for our own purposes. You can see there's a lot of different computers in this room. A lot of humans spend a lot of time here, and this is where the information gets put in, it gets scanned in, it gets put into our control systems. Right here you can see this is where all the samples come in. They come in, that's where they need to be tested. In the middle is in-process testing, and at the very end is when they're completed testing, just to make sure we stay on top and keep an order on everything. You see a lot of our analysts are here in the corner. Harrison here is working on FTIR. This is an identification method that uses infrared. We have, I believe the other two you saw over here on the Carl Fisher titrator, and then the other analyst there is just working on putting in information. So out here, these benches here, this is where we do a lot of our wet chemistry, they call it. We do many, many different methods here. We have over 300 methods that we perform in this lab. So it's, they could be doing anything on any different product at any time. But we do test every raw material, all in-process materials, finished products as well. We test them for micro, identity, purity, potency, strength. Let's see, we've got Amber over here. She's our ICP chemist. We'll leave her alone. A little shy, but that's okay. We'll come back this way. So it's a little loud in this room. Hopefully you can hear me, but this is where a lot of the money in the laboratory is. This instrument right here, this was our first, it's called the UPLC MMX. This is what we use to test for vitamins, different botanicals. What it can do is separate the different analytes in your sample and then measure the concentration based on their separations and the detection limit of the mass spec on the end. So this takes the place of something called HPLC. Those runs take about 20 to 30 minutes. This machine can do that in about 5 minutes. Now, even though that's super fast and cuts down on a lot of the testing time, it's still not enough to keep up with everything that we do, all the testing that we stay on top of. So we're going to do the second one. We can run these day and night, 24 hours a day, all the time, set it up to run. And each of these, after all is said and done, you're looking at about $500,000 each. Now this instrument right here, this is called an ICP UMS. It's, I guess you could say it's kind of similar to these two, at least in cost it is. But this is what we use to test for heavy metals and minerals. The good minerals like iron, calcium, things like that, make sure that we're meeting label claims. And it's also used to test for the bad things like lead and mercury, making sure they're not in there. I don't know if you can see this flame through the video. I just like to bring it up. That's a plasma flame. That's about 5,000 degrees Kelvin, if I'm not mistaken. And what that does is that the sample goes through there. The only thing that survives that flame is metal atoms. It excites those metal atoms, and that's how we're able to protect them and measure them. So you're going to see me take my mask off and put it on quite a few times. It is policy for everybody here to have a mask on, so I'm going to pull it down just because we're doing this presentation, but generally speaking, this is what it'll always be. We do have, just real quick before we leave the lab, this is something called disintegration. A lot of people like to see this. So what this is a simulation of your stomach movement, and what happens is you establish something dissolved within a certain amount of time, and that means your body's not going to absorb the nutrients that are in the finished product that are, obviously while you're buying the product. So this is just to make sure that they do dissolve and they're going to be bioavailable. So our offices, we're going to go through the office area, but we'll also see the soft gel area here. Our office area is quieter than it used to be. We have a lot of people working from home. We're trying to keep a minimum staff number here at the facility, due to obvious reasons. But this is our QA docs department here. This is everything that's made here has a batch record. All the testing that's done is recorded. Pretty much every single thing we do in this facility is recorded, documented, filed here. And this room is definitely not big enough for that. So we have a warehouse across the street, and we have a giant room over there that's dedicated almost just for paperwork. So now we're going to be moving into the soft gel section. Right here we have this is our gel prep room. So what this is when you get your soft gels, you're going to have that outer layer, and then you have the inner layer. The inner layer is the liquid or the paste, the stuff that you really care about. This gelatin layer is what holds everything together, and this is how it's made. It's really just a gelatin, water, and glycerin mix. It's heated up, it's mixed. You pull vacuum because there can't be any air bubbles in this, and then we can go ahead and pump that out. And if any of them have any sort of color, anything like that, then we add it here and it gets mixed with the color mixer. We typically use things like carob for the color just to stay natural on our products. Okay, and this is so that was the outer layer room, this is the inner layer room, this is our fill prep room. This is where we mix everything that goes inside the soft gel. It really is just a sort of like a weighing up and mixing room. Some things are easier than others. In here it looks like they're getting ready to do some Arctic Sea, which is a liquid fill, a lot easier to mix. Some of our other products, let's say like a Forever Move, is a paste, almost like a toothpaste inside, and that's a lot harder to mix. And we also need to mill those products, so we have two different mills in here. We have a homogenizer to make sure that all the fill material in the soft gel is mixed appropriately, and every soft gel is given the same dose. And then we have the gelatin made, we have the fill made, and then it goes to encapsulation, which is the next room this way. So on this line you can see, hopefully you can see it, there's some thin lines running to right where those two people are. That's where the inside of the soft gel, that's what goes through those lines. This is Arctic Sea being run right now. So those lines introduce the liquid. There's a clear looking ribbon that's going to those lines. And there's two tool sets that come together and crimp that gelatin. That's what that ribbon layer is the gelatin. So the liquid comes in, that gelatin gets crimped around that liquid, and that's what forms your soft gel. You can see right through here, the soft gel is coming off of the line and going down that belt. And at this point in time, they're very close to ready, but they're very soft. The size isn't exactly where they need to be. So they'll run through these tumblers that are on the end of the line, kind of spin, dry a little bit, and then there's some doors towards the back. Those soft gels will go in there and they can dry anywhere from, we can say 1 day to 3 days. There's no heat applied, it's just dehumidification. That way, we keep all the nutrients where they need to be. There's no overheating. It's a slow drying process. That way there's no cracking of the soft gels, anything like that. While we're here, I want to introduce you to Chris Altamirano. He's our quality director.
How you doing?
And so Chris is in charge of all quality throughout the facility. That's the lab, that's documentation, that's the auditors out on the floor, sampling, labels, pretty much everything. Quality's in everything at this facility, and so Chris has his hands in all of it.
Definitely so.
Chris. So one thing that Chris is also in charge of is environmental health and safety, which has become an even more important topic this year. So I'll let him describe some of the things we're doing, just so you know what we're doing at this facility as far as the coronavirus.
Yeah, so definitely we've kind of found ourselves in some unprecedented circumstances, of course, with COVID-19 and the pandemic. We are doing everything we can to keep both of our personnel as well as our products safe. So we do continual tests like we have been for years prior to. But on top of that, we do temperature checks at the door. We will do thorough deep cleanings at a more frequent rate than we would have normally. Everything that we use is always keeping up on the latest updates.
There you have it
Thanks, guys.
from the horse's mouth. Thank you, Chris. Let's see, we'll keep going this way. You can see the doors a little bit better over there, drying tunnels. Also, just a note, in case you're wondering, we can do about 1 million soft gels a day on one of these encapsulation machines. It's a very big number, but if everything's running just right, that's pretty much where we get to, about 1 million a day. Now, a lot of you have probably seen this lady. This is Yvette Ward. She's been at the front desk for us for, how many years have you been working with us? 18 years. So I know a lot of you have had tours here before. If you haven't, looking forward to seeing you, but when you come, it will be a familiar face for you. So we've got some glare on these windows. Hopefully we can see through this, but right here, this is our pouching department. This is pretty much dedicated completely to our Ultra product. And right now I believe it's vanilla EU, Oscar?
Yes, correct.
Vanilla EU. And we can do about 20,000 pouches a day. And it's running well. We can come down this way. As you can see, the pouches are just kind of layered in the beginning. That will pick the pouch up. Next step, it opens the pouch. It'll put the powder in. There's an automatic scoop inserter. It comes around to the end of the circle here. So it'll go down this conveyor belt, and at the very end of the green conveyor belt, you'll see a plate. And what that is that's pretty much a check layer. So if that weight isn't correct, if it's too light, and that plate will just kick it right off into the drum below. And as you can see, it looks like we've got our weight dialed in nicely this morning. We'll go ahead and move on. We're going to move to our stick pack department. And we do different products on here. It's not just one, like the pouching department. So we do a lot of RG Plus here. We do a lot of super greens here. And as you can see right now, we're running some fiber. And we can do about 200,000 sticks a day in this department. It's a very new machine. It runs well. The staff in here is really honed in this machine, and they're very skilled operators now. So things are running very well in here. push, and hopefully we can see some more of these machines, just because the demand on stick pack seems to be so high. You'll also notice that I didn't point this out in the other room, but there's a conveyor in this room on the far side. So there was another conveyor in the pouching room also. So when everything gets done in here, it moves up this conveyor system and will go into a final packaging room, which we'll see in just a little bit. And the last room in this hallway, this is the blister pack room. You can see in this picture here, this is what I'm talking about when I say blister pack. And this is the machine itself. This is a great machine, and it's run great from day one. Never really had any problems with it. It runs fast. We do around 750 cases in, let's say, a week in here. Keep in mind, a case is about 18 of these clean 9 boxes, and in each clean 9 box, I believe we have 3 blister cards. So it is. And so I don't know what that total number is exactly, but it really is high and moves fast. It moves so fast, to tell you the truth, we have to slow it down just to keep up with the manual packing that you can see right now. So this is what we call our south warehouse. This is the warehouse where we are going to have all the raw materials for this powders area that we went through. The pouching, the stick pack, the blister pack. What you'll see in these drums, in this drum right here, this is a super green powder. It's just ready to be put through the stick pack machine. You'll see these drums are for the Ultra. And just a quick look in the corner over here, just so you guys know what this is. And you see the big tubing, you see the equipment in the corner, and what this is, it's just a dust collection unit, and it's just to make sure that the dust is being pulled out of the rooms during manufacturing. If you have too much dust, your seals don't work right. Not to mention, it's not good for the employees. But so this is how we kind of control that dustiness in the production facility. You can get another good look at the blister pack machine here. Like I said, there's a lot of hand packing involved in this process also. And the machine moves so fast, it's just hard to keep up with it. So this warehouse is climate controlled. We keep it cool all year long. So it's kind of loud. I'll try to talk louder, but as I said, there's 3 conveyor belt systems. You can see all 3 come into this room. One is from blister pack. The middle one is stick pack. The outside one is pouching. And the machine you see on that line right there is an X-ray machine. That way we can see through the pouch, make sure there's no objects that shouldn't be in the pouch that are there. We never find anything, but it's just a better safe than sorry approach. And then in this room, this is where all the pouches go into shippers. The shippers get palletized and get ready to be shipped out of the building. We're going to take a step outside for a minute. We've got a crossing area outside, and we'll finish off on the solid work pack. This is just an area where we do some shipping and receiving. As I mentioned earlier, we have a warehouse across the street. That's our main receiving warehouse, but for some of the smaller, with smaller shipments, they can go ahead and come in here. And also, if we have to send anything out that's smaller, we might do it from here too. Okay, so we're going to go into what we call the robotics room right now. We're going to go through this, like I said, I called it solid dose. What I mean by that is mainly tablets and how we make the tablets. We're going to kind of go through it backwards a little bit because this is the final stage. This robot here is taking a filled super, putting it on the pallet. We'll do this over and over and over again until we have a full pallet. This pallet will then move across the conveyors, get shrink wrapped, and then be placed on the very outside here, ready for more or less shipment out of the building. So after that pallet gets finished, it gets shrink wrapped, it gets brought out here. You can see all the different finished product pallets here. And more or less these are just waiting to be picked up. We're constantly filling up these hallways. This is probably, we'll have a truck come pick this up maybe in a day or two. It's, you'll see it get a lot more full than this when we're ready for shipment. But it's not just in the aisles, it's also up in the racks. So this is our raw material warehouse for the solid dose side. Moving along this way. Again, it's the third time I've brought this up, but our warehouse across the street is our bigger warehouse. That's where all the raw materials are received. What happens is they get staged there, they get logged into the system, they get sampled, they get tested. Once they're tested, all documentation is reviewed, approved, all testing is good, and then they can go ahead and get it. Be brought over to this warehouse. That way there's a separation between approved and not approved material, so mishaps could happen. You can see right here, we have a barcoding system that handles all of our materials, all of our components, and then there's a green release sticker here also. So even though it gets released in our system, we also do a manual releasing, just again as just a secondary level to make sure nothing happens that shouldn't. This warehouse is also climate controlled, same as our one across the street. Go around the corner here and we'll go ahead and start the process of the actual manufacturing of tablets. So through these windows, this is our weigh-up room. It's a large weigh-up room, but we weigh up a lot of material each time. So we have large scales, we have small scales, medium scales, depending on the materials that we're weighing up. Everything gets bagged separately, gets written in the batch record, the weight is written down by the operator, it's also checked by someone else. They actually watch them weigh it and sign that they verified the weight. And then even after that, it goes through our QA docs department to make sure that everything is exactly as it should be. And after the weigh-up process, we move into blending. You'll see some light brown powder kind of in the room. We're doing propolis right now. It's a very, it's a messy product. Good product, but it's just a messy product when it comes to manufacturing. But you know, we do cleans between every batches, and it's just it's a tough one. But what we're looking at here is a V blender. The blender just kind of spins the materials around. We timed all the different formulas to see how long they should spin for an homogeneous blend, and we do anywhere between, let's say, 550 and 750 kilo batch size in these blenders, and we can do about 4 of those a day. So one thing, it's hard to probably capture how good this stuff looks here, but we have a lot of, I guess you could call it wall art like this, and this is a map of everywhere Forever Living is in the world when we opened our offices. And it really is impressive. Every time I do a tour here, we spend a little bit of time kind of looking at this, and everybody likes to see where, you know, where their country is when they started. It's nice to have. So then, right after the blending process, we go ahead and, you know, we have our drums filled up with powder, and then we bring those into this room. This is just the staging room. You'll see a lot of the white drums there. Those are just materials that have been blended and are ready to be tableted. And a lot of the times you might see white buckets in there also, and that's when we have tablets that are just ready to be packaged or coated. This is our granulation room. So unfortunately we don't have granulation happening today, but this is where we do a lot of our, you know, I'll just say our bee pollens or anything that needs granulation, like you know, absorbent C is another one. And what we do is we do a honey granulation here. It's not, we don't use alcohol, we don't use any solvents. It's just the powder mixed with the honey that kind of globs up the powder a little bit, and then we can get it into bigger granules, and that helps with the compression a lot. So that way we're able to make tablets out of things that really are very difficult to make into tablets, and we can do it with something that, well, that tastes good and is very natural. But you'll see in the back wall, there's let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 doors, and what those are ovens. So after we do some granulation with the honey, we'll have to put it in there to dry out the honey and the different powders. We need to get the water out before we can tablet that. I can tell you that it smells great in this room all the time. It's almost like we're, you know, baking these products, and it's, you know, the honey always smells really good. It's a nice aroma. And this is just a giant freezer right here. That's also part of the process. You know, we need to cool this powder, this granulation down at certain times, and that's where we'll go ahead and put it to make sure that happens. So we're going to see some more wall art coming over around this corner. I like to bring this up because it's all about bees, and I always like to say Forever Nutracentrical really got started with its bee products, even before this facility was built. What transferred to here was really all about the bees, the bee propolis, the royal jelly, the bee pollen. I'll throw absorbent C in there, even though it's not necessarily a bee product, but it's a lot of honey. It's just a lot of different information about the bees, what we do with them, the honey, and the different materials that we use to make up these products. this way, so now we're going to hit the tablet presses. And this is when the powder or the granulation actually turns into powder. So right here, this is a lysine product. Hopefully you can see it, but the tablets come off the chute very quick. It's we can do about 1 million tablets a day on each one of these presses. And they're doing checks on these tablets every 15 minutes, I believe it is. They check the weight, thickness, hardness, something called friability to make sure the tablets don't break or fall apart during shipment. So a lot of different testing. You know, we were in the lab earlier and I talked about testing in there. We do about 5,000 tests a month in that lab. And then if you couple it with all the different tests that we do out here as far as the weight checks, the thickness checks, hardness, the x-ray, metal detection, we're doing, you know, tens and tens of thousands of tests every week. It really is, it seems like a lot, it almost seems too much, but it really is worth it. So this machine right here looks like we're on propolis, but I believe they're about to switch to another batch, so they got to do some setup. It's not running right at this moment, but it's about to. Here, another tablet press. So this is Amy's Blend, really good product right now. And any immune product is doing very well right now. So this is one that we're making a lot of. And again, we can do about 1 million tablets of these per day as well. And I think this is the last tablet press running today. On this tour, we have Kids EU on this one. Again, running well. You see tablets coming out, and then you'll see a little bit of the powder and the dust. And the box that you see the tablets going into, that's what it really is. It's to capture that excess dust, take it out, so we just have nice clean tablets in the end. This is, we actually have kind of 2 HR systems here. We have Jessica in here. So we like to have an HR presence inside the facility, just because, you know, it's really where all the action is, and it's easier for them to come talk to her if they're inside the facility. She does a great job. Everybody loves her. Really lucky to have her here. And then we have the supervisor of the tableting area right here. She's happy to be behind that glass right now, I'm sure. But, keep going. And then this is our packaging line. So we saw the robot room on the other side, and I don't know if you noticed or not, but there's this rail system that went into that room where all the bottles are coming from. This is where they're coming from. And you can see right here we have, you know, this sort of gateway, I guess you could call it. That's the metal detector. So the bottle will come through there, it gets checked for metal, and then right past that, there's a check weigher. So that bottle will be checked for both. I believe the first plate is for the metal detector and the second plate is for weight. And then if any one of those is off, it gets kicked off, and we can tell why depending on which bucket it goes into. Right now you're looking at, this is garlic thyme that's being packaged. And I'll say we could do about, let's say about 20,000 bottles a day we can package on one of these lines. And we also have another line on the other side of that black plastic. And then through this window you can see the railway I was talking about. It takes the bottles all the way to the robotics room. Seems like a lot of twists and turns, but you can't have too much of an incline or the bottles will slip and slide around. So that's really about everything. You know, we went through soft gels, we went through powders, we went through tableting, went through the lab, and you know, just so everybody knows. I hope you can kind of pick up all the quality that is in this building, and I know it's really hard to just say it, but just trust me, everything we do has quality steps. We're NSF certified, we're ISO certified. We get audited by many different countries. They come in, they check us out all the time, and we're never worried about it. We welcome everybody with open arms. Come check out our systems. We're very proud of them, and so it's really never a problem. And I hope everybody can come back soon. I'm not gonna lie, I really like doing these tours a lot more in person. Having a little bit of back and forth, some questions is nice. It's it's very different getting a video tour, but I just want to thank you for watching, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully we'll see you soon. All right, thank you everybody.